Welcome, welcome. Hopefully this is going to correctly work out for once at the start, but you know, this buffer here also helps me with the YouTube upload, so it works out. The stream is starting very, very late, which is not what you want, really. So I'm just going to be working with what I've been doing. That's about it. But yeah, the title of the stream, which the YouTube viewers may not get, is Grinding Out the Temple, and I'm wanting to swap up my build that I'm running. So that's what I'm going to be doing. I'm going to be aiming to get just more crystal skulls so I can unlock more blessings. Or I should say different blessings to use. And yeah, that's just kind of going to be how it is. One moment while I try and fix a couple of things with my stream. Oh, here we are. And let me just double check that the sound's working. One moment. Still not all too sure whether or not my sound's correctly working for this, but I'm gonna try my best to make sure that it seems at least decent, so to say. But yeah, I'm gonna take a look at my starting weapons here while I'm just kind of roaming about. A couple of decent options here. The spark hammer just looks generally a decent option, and a shield is always good. This is also a decent option, just more damage for that, and obviously the parry shield is what I always look for. Storm Lash, very powerful. Seeker's Mace doesn't have the synergy with it, but it could very well be a main part of the run. I think I'm going to go with this one though, just because I would like to try out a mace for a bit. But yeah, now I get to look over what I want to do, and obviously these are going to be the best ways to get crystal skulls. So I'm going to probably choose from them. Okay. Just one last thing. Okay. But yeah. Obviously this is an Annihilator bow, it corrupts you as you use it, and you can't use other weapons. Temple just has a bunch of traps here, and you get a couple of powerful relics, I believe. This one I'm not entirely sure on. I believe it just basically makes it so that you get debuffed if you're in light, but you get buffed if you're in darkness. Fire takes control. This is basically the opposite. Darkness will relentlessly kill you. And, yeah. Lots of fire for gold and blood. The craving's absolute. You start at death's door. Blood and gold are your only source of substance. That's a Jaguar Temple exploration. I think I'm going to try out for it just to kind of see what it is. Once again, these are just generally pretty decent things to do because, as you saw there, you get 2 skulls for every room cleared, plus an additional 20 if you manage to get a full clear. So it's just pretty decent rewards for not the most insane amount of effort. Even if you do fairly badly, it's quick enough that you'll be able to get some decent use out of it. As you saw there, I was on very low health, and the urn is the only thing that gave me any advantage here, so it's going to just be a lot of risk early on. If that's the major downside of this, it's possible to deal with, but once again, you have to be very careful in these early rooms. There's very little purpose in lighting this, but I'm going to, just so I can see a bit better. Light will reduce damage taken, but I mean, if I take a hit, I am dead currently. Oh, kills also heal. But yeah, I'm going to play it as safe as possible in this early start, and just kind of work my way through it. Just noticed that we do indeed have the Bloodlust Curse applied, which is just basically replacing gold drops from enemies with blood instead, and said blood will just... Basically I get health instead of gold for getting greed kills. The name of the game here is just, as I've said before, being very careful with how I do my actions. And slowly trying to build up my HP pool. Obviously, if I somehow manage to get to a healing thing early on, that would be great, but it's not possible besides random chance and the unknowns. I am going to immediately set this off so I just don't have to deal with it. Maybe get a bit of damage. I did indeed. And then just basically chain stun this enemy here as best I can. And there we go. Wrapped up that room pretty quickly. I do have a sledge to break open this room. Do I want to risk killing more enemies? Yeah. More enemies means more health, and just in general, I need to build up health, and these enemies are fairly easy to defeat. Ah, and there's a chest back there. All the more reason to do this room. As you can see there, the enemies just basically kill themselves. And we get a chest and some health for it. Not going to be too useful of a relic there if I die early on, but we'll see what we can do. Very, very good here. Not going to offer blood, just going to offer gold. And this is going to give me a decent start on my health and gold find for the rest of this round. It doesn't actually give me the healing effect there, which is unfortunate. I believe usually Constitution will give you the max health, as well as the filled health for said max health, but apparently not always. I can see the trap just over there. I don't know if there's any past it, but I'm still gonna go for it. It ended up fine. See the trap up there. Thankfully didn't activate it while I was unprepared. And I see the one here. I do want the blood for just additional health. It gives me a minor amount of curse, but it's very much worth it to be safe in this starting spot. That was just a bad play on my part and letting the enemy start getting a chance to do anything there. I don't know why exactly this got electrocuted there. There may be something special I could do with that. Which maybe it's another tether that I can use for electricity, but not something I have to be too focused on. Really don't want to let the enemy get over there, because that would just basically make the encounter slightly harder by having multiple enemies at once. Doesn't end up mattering, but yeah. This stream is probably going to be a little bit shorter than what I normally do, just due to the fact that I have a couple midterms in the morning that I want to be prepared for. Also, because I started the stream late, it was much later than I would prefer to be doing this at. Though in fairness, if I could just stay up all night, I would be entirely down with doing that. But unfortunately, there comes repercussions for that. Here's the end of this room. I'm not entirely sure if the blood effect works based off of max health or just damage dealt, or just maybe in a specific stat, so I think I'm just going to go for the single. It probably just directly converts gold into otherwise, but I think I just need the max health here. So I'm going to sacrifice 100 for 250 max health, because I don't believe it will be filled here. It is not. Moving forward. This is just an arena fight, which is a bit unfortunate. Well, I shouldn't say unfortunate, it's pretty easy to keep up brief timer in here, which is always a benefit when I'm working off of low health and wanting basically just the effects of chaining kills. Gonna be doing that as best I can. It was a bit risky there. I wasn't all too sure whether or not the maggot could hit me through the little flame altar there, but I don't know. Alright, which I'm glad for. As you can see there, I'm making a very, very large amount of HP back with each kill. Except if I do that, then I won't be. There, I should have just gone for the outright kill on them rather than thinking otherwise. Probably would have taken me 2 charged hits with my shield, but that would have been better than taking a hit there. This is just an outright improvement on my current thing, and I can't really afford to offer curse for anything. I think I'm just going to take this. Okay. Weapon upgrade would probably be the smartest thing to just get some upgrades going on my main equipment, but none of it is outright powerful, so I think I'm going to go with unknowns for the chance of a relic or a new weapon. This path also lets me end with another relic, which is what I'm thinking, but I also can't offer them for curse, so I'll probably have to go for gold. Another arena fight. Entirely fine by me. Enemies end up killing each other there, which I'm just entirely fine with. I'm just gonna shield that through it. As you can see here, this challenge is pretty easily dealt with, except when I get messed up there and don't go for parries, but if you're able to just build up your breed timer, it's just outright good. And that's kind of the purpose of me doing this, is some of the options for blessings that I want are just supporting a greed build. Those greed builds are pretty interesting. We saw the basic parts of one earlier, but yeah. I don't think this is worth it. Pretty big damage bonus here of +8 overall, but once again, not worth losing a majority of my health for, so I'm just going to move on. Is this another arena fight? And the exact same start as well. It's kind of interesting getting it repeatedly, just how much you see it, which I mean, I'm fine with. It's a pretty easy set of rooms to deal with, and that's helping me get my health up. The plan thankfully targeted the Serpent instead of me, which I appreciate. Thought I charged up enough there for a charged attack, but I guess I clicked off a bit too soon. Much as possible you want to stay on +10 greed on this build, or however much bloodlust, because that's going to be how you gain the most health. Another weapon upgrade. Gives me different options for a prefix. This would be a pretty decent idea just to get some scaling up, but I don't think it's worthwhile, once again, because of how much health I lose, and basically a couple rooms off the boss, and I'm still not that great at this boss. I think I'm gonna have to go for Relic here just to try and get something to help me out with the actual boss encounter itself, but here's the curse. Really hate this curse. Just a very unpleasant thing for me. Basically puts you on a time limit to do everything, and in the cases where you're wanting to be careful, being put on a time limit makes you have to take a slightly more riskier plays, which puts you in slightly more harms, or a slight higher chance of getting harmed, basically. And obviously that'll amp in capabilities for being safe. Wasn't too sure if it could hit me at the end of there, so I rolled just in case. I'm going to be trying to get through these rooms as fast as humanly possible. Well, humanly possible for me here, because I really don't want to increase my curse more than I have to. I'm In this situation now, where I'm still able to deal enough damage, I'm going to take that because it's just more lightning damage, where I'm still able to deal enough damage, it is very important to rush through these things. 30% lightning damage is very, very tempting. 20% damage for maces, though, is more important, I think. Difference of 100 health. This gives me flat 3 constitution, so it's maybe a smarter choice anyways. This is not really useful. 30% lightning helps 2 things, while the other one only helps 1, so I think I'm gonna have to go with it. Puts me at less health than I'd want to have, but I think that's the main idea behind this run. Is playing out of your element. I'm gonna double check the weapon attacks on this. Charged, and then just basic triple swing. Oh yeah, I forgot your corruption goes up when this boss fights as well. Got very lucky dodging there. I did not intend to be that low on stamina, but I was. Can indeed parry those, which is good to know, because that I believe increases the... Oh, my main weapon does critical damage. Better. Basically getting a parry will just dramatically increase my damage for a little bit. Just parrying as a precaution there. If I got it off, it would be more damage. If I don't, it's just mild inconvenience in the name of safety. Managed to get the second parry off there, but I missed the first, which is fine. Got caught up in trying to dodge rather than just deal mechanically with Griffin, which would have been very some. That is ultimately going to be the struggle. I think I'm just going to have to out damage here because Oh, that's unfortunate. I was spamming the spacebar, but I got downed. Oh yeah, I'm just gonna try and out damage here because there's no point otherwise. As you can see, I keep getting hit by the same attack. Keeps damaging me dramatically. Overall, a very disappointing fight in my mind. How much damage I took there is kind of unreasonable. For the fact that I've been able to clear this boss without taking hits. Get rid of Dark Fervor. Really don't like it. It basically just gave me additional curse for this room without doing anything else for me. This may honestly be a decent option because the mace is nice and all, but it's not doing all that much for me. Gonna take that as a direct improvement. I have no enemies that are weakened. More lightning damage is good. Either giving me permanent dex permanent constitution or minus 20 on gold offerings. I have no gold right now. I'm just gonna take the constitution. It's very tempting to just give this up, but a large amount of my damage comes from this weapon being lightning. Though I could also pivot to this. This gives me some range capabilities. I'll just take the dex and stick with my current mace. I am for sure going to a healing room, hoping this just heals me to full. Treating Gloom shouldn't matter all that much. Yeah, basically just taking damage sends out a wave of darkness, and I am better in the light. Going to fill up on HP here at the cost of a whole lot of curse. Whole lot of curse. But in my mind it's worth it. Health is the one thing I'm lacking here. I probably could have not gone with the very final part, or the final give there, to just try and regen that health myself, but it seemed worthwhile at the moment there. hit all the enemies affected by the lightning at once. So obviously one of the main points of lightning. Damage, just in general, a nice damage buff that's almost always going to be active. As you see there, the vine is what finished off the enemy. I'm going to take the extra room here for a bit more rewards. Unfortunately, it's this room, which I'm still not great at dealing with. But yeah. Did not actually mean to roll into that. The additional curse right now in exchange for health isn't worth it because I'm at a comfortable amount of HP. As you can see, it's glowing there from the fungal awareness curse. Just another thing to pay attention to that I don't want to trigger. Actually able to take out that enemy pretty quickly, which is always good. If I get near and finish this combo, it's going to go off. I assumed I would have had time to dodge, but there's a cooldown period on heavy weapons, which I forget. Because I don't use them so much. Because basically a number of reasons, but that being one of them. Having a time where I can basically just not react is not something that I want. Planning to do a full combo there to try and finish off people, but it ends up not mattering because it wouldn't have killed them. Or maybe it would have. Not all too sure there. But a delay after hits is making me think I have some kind of damage over time effect, but maybe lightning just does small ticks. Nothing all that useful besides maybe this. Do I need to control my corruption that much? Have half the floor left. Probably be smart, but I'm going to aim for more for the build. 45% in darkness is a bit of anti-synergy with this curse, giving me 10% damage in light, but I mean, it's just strong in general. I think I'm going to take it, yeah. It also gives me a +7 dex for 14% additional damage. Go into the unknown. I have an option coming up here, whether or not to go to that time trial, which I will likely do. I'm in an okay situation. It's not that great, but it's not terrible enough to warrant anything too drastic. Do the range attack here. This hammer is indeed working out very well. Seeing how much damage it's putting out, but it's once again just giving me that pretty big risk whenever I go in for hits. That is not the most pleasant thing to have in the background. Oh. Yeah, I'll go up here. Actually able to kill them outright because of the bonus damage and darkness. A nice thing to keep aware of, I guess. Nothing extra. Moving on. Still getting... There's... Maybe my spacebar is just not doing great, because I very definitively dodged there. But I should probably prioritize using my parries over dodges, seeing as I'm using a heavy weapon, which is costing me the majority of my stamina. But yeah, I should just take things a bit slower. There's another point that should be made. Still not all too sure what's lighting enemies on fire. Maybe lightning just kind of intrinsically does that, which is unfortunate, but damage based on the amount of gold I have will be nice just on the background. It's not going to be all that useful because it's also only 2%. But yeah, I'm going to go with the time trial. Glad with who I chose to prioritize as a target there. Prophetess being an enemy I want to get rid of as soon as possible. Getting hit out of the air by the blades is another reason to really dislike the Titan masks. Took a bit longer than I wanted, took a bit more damage than I wanted, but overall fairly clean. Well, not clean, fairly decent. All too sure how that vine reached me. I'm also kind of... oh, more Titan Mask, or Tomb Horrors. I don't believe I have the curse for the vine, so I'm not too sure how that vine hit me. I probably got hit just at the edge of its hitbox. It's unfortunate. But yeah, the other thing with lightning is, I believe it's guaranteed crit on the lightning damage finisher part. Which would just be a nice addition, so I can focus on crit, lightning damage, or darkness damage here. Just outright kill the Titan Max. I knew I had the opportunity to hit the other enemy because it was already debuffed with lightning. Unfortunate. I should have probably just done better with dodges and decided to actually dodge it. I assumed I was at the edge of it and out of its range, but I was within the edge of it. Noticed the statue immediately, and when I noticed it, I kind of just went with, is its damage going to be worth more than just instantly clearing the room? And I decided to instantly clear the room instead. I think I'm going to go with an upgrade. I need to kind of just deal with my current situation better, use the hand I've been dealt, which is probably just going to be upgrading this as much as possible. Yeah, upgrade. So I don't need to fight. Once again, the ending section of the basic combo with the two-handed hammers. Unfortunately, it does not give me enough time to dodge, which ended up getting me twice there, taking a lot more corruption than I would have liked. The other part of this is this weapon automatically is meant to do a bit of a stun effect, an interrupt effect. Whenever it got stuck on the Titan Mask there. Whenever it does its hit, so my assumption was that it would stop the enemy from just teleporting instantly and instantly hitting me, but it did not. But yeah, very, very bad room there for me. Gonna offer gold, I lose 4% damage, because I no longer have the relic, but I gain overall more damage on it. I think that's what I'm going to have to be using here. This boss can get by pretty well with either parries or dodges, but parries are going to be what's going to help you the most with it. Torch of Sorrow doesn't really matter to me. I'm not making very much use of fire. And it also synergizes with the plus 45% in darkness. So yeah. Overall, not the greatest start to a run, but it's manageable. One thing with this game that you definitely have to watch out for is some boss attacks can be interrupted, and some cannot. So it's good to be conscious of which you're about to get hit with. As you can see here, I'm outputting pretty incredible damage, and I do end up taking a hit and jumping right into his effect. But yeah, this boss fight is pretty straightforward once you get used to it, and just dealing with its effects. Again there, I assumed I could have gotten off with getting the third hit on him, which would have triggered both the highest damage part and the lightning effect, but I could not. Just taking an incredible amount of bad damage on this fight. I'm sorry to the one viewer I have right now for having to witness this. I'm just kind of in shock with how bad I'm doing. Yeah, I mean that's at the end going to be how it deals with it. I haven't used very much two-handed weapons, only done one full run with them, as in only using them. Deal with it. I'm actually going to take this off out of anything because I can get some benefit from being in darkness already, so changing that up is unimportant. Not better than my current. Definitely a good option here, 20% and criticals on offhand, but I do prefer having a shield and the plus dex is nice. Perfect dodge is giving more stamina plus an additional 6 dex is worth far more than the other one. This just kind of builds in with lightning. If I manage to get parries off well, then I'll get a significant bump in damage. And I've said before that this is decent, but I don't have anything to swap out for it, really. And 3 perception is pretty nice. I am going to have to take a healing room here just to try and deal with the aftermath of that rather not great fight, but in the end I shouldn't be pushing over max curse by the end of the run anyways, so it should all be good. I am going to take, once again, that extra bit of health, seeing as I've not been doing the best plays so far tonight. I'm going to want that extra bit of security. This 300 gold effect is very unfortunate. It gives me some amount of healing, but I don't need more healing right now. It's more or less going to just instead drain health very, very continuously. It's basically no longer feasible for me to take deals for gold, or gold offerings I should say. I wanted to commit there to do the finishing combo just to kill them off, but it wasn't worth it. So I passed on it. Managing to get that extra hit in there thanks to the random vine there. Pick it off pretty quick, which I am very much glad for. The damage output with my hammer currently is doing quite a bit, and overall is just a decent addition. So I think I am going to end up spending health to upgrade it, give it an additional 8 damage, oh, more than 8, 13. taking that 300 hit for an overall boost to my damage is what I'm going to have to do. This path is pretty decent. It gives me a guarantee. Well, I can pivot that way and do it anyways, but I do definitely want to hit up the weapon upgrade up there. Do I think I'll be able to build up enough by going through this? No. I think I really want to hit up some gold rooms, though. And going to this question mark room gives me a chance for just outright getting more gold, because as you can see there, I was out of gold for whatever reason, and I took a massive amount of damage. Why was I at 0 gold there? Oh yeah, I don't gain gold at base. Yeah, so that curse is probably one of the worst things to get while being stuck with this permanent curse that doesn't let me get enemies to drop gold, but I just kind of have to deal with it. So yeah, ultimately, that curse actually puts this run in a very high risk zone. This room with this many Titan Skulls is just kind of rude. I'm gonna have to do my best to get some amount of health from just killing enemies, or else I'm going to lose very just outright. The number of rooms that I have to go to before the final boss just dictates that. It just kind of stood there and I went into its hit there, so I'm gonna have to pay 300 here, 300 here, 300 here, 300 here. That is 1200 health, and unless I have any way of getting that up, I'm going to die. I can't afford this. I really want this. That's a massive damage increase, but if I take it, I just lose outright. And I guess that's just the name of the game with this run. It's not really plausible for me to do anything with this. That feels very bad, but once again, there's not much I can do. If I want to have any chance of surviving, I just have to not take anything. When I got it, I didn't realize how negative that was going to be for me, but, you know, what can you do? I'm going to be taking any opportunity to get health that's presented to me, because I need it. That gold there is very powerful. It's one of the few remaining ways for me to get gold. It's just by the game outright giving it to me, or it dropping in gold pile, or spawning as gold pile, sorry. So that actually basically saves us 210 health here. Is that a trap? It's just glowing. Okay. That's a trap. There's an enemy right here. I could just kind of accost it. I see a bit of health here that I'm going to go for. Just try and make sure I have the capability, because the more health that I have for the final boss, the higher chance I have of actually beating it and getting the additional 20 to my Crystal Skull count. That was just kind of a bad move there on my own part, but yeah. And this is just an outright improvement to additional Constitution, means I have more health to heal, but you know, it's just an improvement. I could have taken the reduction in corruption, but what's the point in reducing my corruption when that's not even the factor that is putting me most at risk here? My damage output is very nice, it's just very risky to do anything. I'm going to double check on this side to make sure. Yeah, that's where I got the previous one. I need to be looking for any possible thing to help me out with this. That's 250 HP for that, or 100 HP. Is 10% damage worth that? I think so. 300 this room, 300 that room, and 300 that room. So yeah, currently I'm at 303 effective health. Or, sorry, not even that. Much more than 303, because I had forgotten I had gold still. So yeah, I'll only be losing about 600 more. At minimum. It's very unfortunate that their hit radius was enough to hit me, but my hit radius was not enough to hit them, and that grub instant attacked me. One comboing that little shell blurter thing, which does make me very much happy. I don't exactly know what killed the other enemy over here, but I'll take it. At this point, any advantage is what I'm going to want. Still can't afford the weapon upgrade even though I want it. Dropping health is going to be more of a risk than getting this damage buff, even though it's a very, very solid damage up with that's 15 damage, yeah. Then that gets further modified. I'm just gonna have to pass it up. There's no reason to risk anything. I'm also now noticing I'm gonna get exactly one more curse before the final room, unless I manage to get off a greed kill, I believe. Yeah. So at least one greed kill here, hopefully. And that also includes no hits from champions or elites. I'm going to once again be looking around the edges of the room for any pots that may contain some blood so I can try and deal with this current risk here, but I'm not thinking there's going to be any in this room. I do manage to get down my greed, or sorry, I get a couple of greed kills to reduce my corruption here, which is going to be the key for me having a more meaningful chance on this coming boss. If I would not just roll in place, because yeah, there's only one room left. Didn't expect it to still damage me while dodging, which puts me in a slightly worse position there, but I think I can make do with it. Still gonna aim for the Titan Skull first. Just really don't like how many basically enemies it puts on screen. Just out of range for that last bit there, which is very, very unfortunate in my mind. Yeah, managed to pretty cleanly wrap up the rest of the room. Got a pot with blood there, so I'm going to double check the sides, don't see any more. And I'm going to move forward. 350 health for anything, and I'm going to be taking another 300 here by going through the door. I don't think I'm going to be getting anything, but I may as well roll through it just to see what I would be able to. That is very tempting, just because of the fact that I have some benefit from crits, but overall not worth it. 45% lightning, very, very powerful if I could get it, but I'm not able to. Cool. Moving forward. I'm one corruption below getting my final curse, which is very, very nice. Or sorry, my fourth curse, which I am glad for. The build I'm going in with is not great. I have extra additional stamina there, some lightning damage, some darkness damage. No damage from this, and no benefit from this. And then basically just the Skyhammer. These two also have lightning synergy, but I have been using them very little because they're not going to help me out-damage this boss. The lightning is going to be great for killing these snakes, though. manage to get a finishing combo set on any of them, it will damage all of them. As you see there, my damage is very, very significant here. But I just need to start getting off hits, and it will chunk him down pretty massively. I forgot that his range there outclasses mine, but I am still able to get significant. I've basically just been waiting for this. This is still only my second time at the actual Serpent Temple boss, so it's going to be a bit rough around the edges. Definitely trying my best, and that hit interruption there is going to be very costly. Taking a lot of bad hits here, trying to finish off these enemies. I should be taking it a bit slower here. As you see there, he just regained a massive amount of health by letting them sacrifice. Very, very unfortunate that they're able to get one last attack off before the end of my hit chain. As you see here, if you manage to hit them, you will give him weakened, and I'm going to just go for the kill there. Whew. Surprisingly managed to get a win out on this run. Had a very, very rocky start, and a very tough finish there, especially with that very bad curse at the end. But I made through it. This curse in specific. Oh, it's cleared anyways. But yeah, paying 300 health at every door was not the most friendly. Oh, thank you very much, LauFR. I very much appreciate that. This was basically my first run doing heavy focus on heavy weapons, or secondary weapons, sorry. And so being able to get a decent clear through that is what I wanted. I'm still running this very basic setup, but now I can afford to have the option of this as well as the dex training one. Yeah. And that's ultimately what I'm going to be saving up for, because this is a very, very basic setup, and I want to improve off of it, because obviously it's a bit limited. This curse threshold one is my favorite, just because it lets me be much riskier with what I want. Yeah, Reptilian Hunger is just insane, being able to carry so much as well as get a massive, massive damage increase. Comboed with Grace of Tempest, if you're able to keep it up, you just have such high power. I think I am actually going to just maybe make use of this now. Being able to not lose Greed is very powerful. The question of what do I swap out, the 1000 gold at the start of the run is important, but I think I can make use of just literally outright doubling damage more. So I'm gonna give that into it. Thank you for that tip, Lau. Oh, pretty decent starting weapons here. 30% of darkness, 20% for poison. Main weapon isn't the greatest. It has actually all beneficial buffs though, and then the longsword is nice. Throwing weapon's pretty solid. The whip, no real benefit there, but it's a whip. And both of these get some benefit. Stormlash is one of my favorite whips outright, just because of how powerful it is. If you build a lightning synergy, you can get it stacked up really, really high, and in my opinion, lightning is kind of in a very powerful state right now. As you saw there, I didn't have the greatest run, but I was still able to get through with it. I think I'm going to go with this run just because it gives me this broken longsword, which will let me break through some doors I may miss. Oh, yeah, I was going to do one of these again. If any of the viewers now watching want me to do something else, I can, but I was probably going to attempt another one of these challenge runs. I'm not too great at these missions, as you can see here, but I did manage to get through Serpent first try each time, except this one, which I got on my second. So about what I'd have left is a hard on each or one of the events. That was what I was going to double check, actually. I have a couple more Forsaken weaponry that I can just add in. This is an interesting sword to have. And fire attacks. Yeah, that was definitely what I was thinking. The main goal of this stream was to try and get more skulls, and so having access to all the more skulls for a challenge run is going to make it a good idea. I think I may try it. I could go for another Serpent run, I think. That would probably be a smart idea. Try and improve myself with that set, or I could go after a Fire Purge. I think I will end up... because my weapons, they are just quite powerful out themselves. And I think this may be something I could work with for the entire run, so I should go with the darkness-based one, which is, I believe, the Serpent Temple. I believe you can use starting weapons for the ones that don't outright change your weapons, because there's a couple of them that will just give you a new starting weapon, like the bow one, for example. This is in regards to Lao FR. And yeah, I do manage to keep my weapons, but like the corrupted bow one, I think just gives you the corrupted bow and lets you roll with that. And so yeah, that's what this run is going to focus on, is just sticking to the shadows as it says and avoiding the negative benefits of going into the light. And Dagger's secondary effect is very powerful, just quick stun. Thank you for that, Lau. I guess that would make better sense with the name. I just like to make sure people are comfortable with it. Pretty clean first floor. Additional poison damage, just outright nice, and you see my greed meter just literally not going down, which is the benefit of that blessing I took over the 1,000 gold to start with. And for every greed stack I have, I get an additional percentage damage equal to that. Oh, you're part of the Discord. Yeah, this game, I started playing it right when I was, I believe one of the streamers, either Huts or someone along those lines, mentioned it, and some of my friends started mentioning it, so I really wanted to check it out. And so I got in way at the start, before like Serpent's Temple and all that, and for a while there I took a break because university and all that was getting the best of me, but I'm getting back into it now, and I started streaming, so I thought you may as well kill two birds with one stone and enjoy it at the same time. Yeah, with this game, I think one of the important aspects is the community. With a lot of games, that is true. But I think with roguelikes, being able to communicate with other people enjoying it really helps improve, in a way, the replayability. I've seen some people review this game and say it has, to a degree, low replayability, and personally I disagree with that, because I really enjoy the fact that so many weapons work just outright, like getting this to start with now, with obviously the starting weapons coming with, I believe, the armory update. Lets you do so much more with a run, and lets you just kind of build off of it, where previously you couldn't. And being able to talk with people, share experiences, share builds, just overall good community, good ideas. So I could swap it out for this. This would be just a pretty decent upgrade from what was previous, having bonus damage against poison, which I'm dealing, and removing some corruption. Poison Claws, on the other hand, just very, very powerful, with bonus damage against uninjured, which basically carries over from previous, but that 1% healing on top of the 1% from perception makes me feel like it's worthwhile. Yeah, Lau, as you said, the fighting is what's kind of kept me with this game. I'm I've not played all that many roguelikes in my time, but even with how punishing this game is, the fighting mechanics are very, very addictive. Because whenever you take a hit, you feel like you know why you took a hit, you feel you can do better, and the game presents you so many opportunities to get better. For example, for a while when I started, I wasn't great at parrying. I'm on mouse and keyboard, which may or may not help, may or may not harm, but it basically, once I've started practicing it now, it adds an entire other level to how I play the game. And there I took a hit. That is very unfortunate, because that removes all of my greed. Which obviously is the risk that comes with the greed relic that I took. It means that I have to play pretty optimally to go with anything. I'm not going to take those over my current weapon, but an interesting idea. Chromatic knives are very, very fun. The couple of runs that I've had them, I haven't done great for a mixture of reasons, but the capability to just have a large array of elemental effects stacks on and on. And yeah, as you just mentioned in chat, Lau, this game, the devs say they recommend controller, and I can definitely see where that helps, but I feel like they've built this combat system effectively enough where you're able to use mouse, keyboard, or controller and still feel just as strong and just as powerful. And that is, I think, one of the important things, because some of the other games... Oh, Chromatic Knives popping up again. Some of the other games that I've played kind of focus in on using one or the other, and there's an outright risk to using the quote-unquote suboptimal one, like Binding of Isaac. Depending on what you choose, they each have their own merits and demerits, but one of them ultimately gives you a lot different benefits, and a similar thing with Gungeon. Gungeon, I believe, on mouse and keyboard is just significantly harder than on controller. Oh, Blessings plan to be reworked in the next patch. That'll be definitely interesting, because a lot of the Blessings I'm currently using feel to me like a number of the only viable ones, I guess. Well, I shouldn't say that. All of the Blessings give very significant and very important effects, but to me, being able to access these effects feel stronger than the other ones. And I don't know whether that would indicate that you would want them toned down or want them tuned up. In my opinion, tuning up the other Blessings, and in general just kind of shaping a more powerful meta, is what you would want with this game, especially since these are basically just normal runs versus, what's it called, the Death and Jaguar runs and all that come later on, where you need to be able to have that building up, that furthering of capabilities. It's all together just a good time. And with this game, there's just so many factors at play. You have relics, which I've heard some people say relics aren't in the greatest state. They are still very powerful, but they favor certain things, which I can definitely see to be true. Blessings are at play, and then just how you decide how to go about the map, whether you want to go for upgrades to boost what you have, go for relic or weapon options to see if you can get better. It's just, you have a lot of freedom with what you do, and there's usually not just an outright correct option, which I like. That's actually a very interesting concept you mentioned there. If Reptilian Hunger was the baseline, Reptilian Hunger being the one that I'm making use of now for just permanent greed, it would definitely introduce a very, very fun meta, which, in my mind, that's what you... I can see what you would want there. You get so many... You feel more powerful in a game where you want to feel powerful, and it helps you get off to more unique and more different runs. Because Reptilian Hunger itself is just an outright game-changing effect. And the more game-changing effects you have, the more unique and interesting runs you can get, at least as far as I can see it. And that adds replayability, it adds a uniqueness to each run that's very, very important to me. 10% base damage on the dagger would be very solid. I've been using the claws just outright here for the bonus healing, though I don't need them. I don't need to, I should say. What do I want to build off of? Poison works with both. This takes bonus damage because of poison. This just outright deals poison. I don't have any relics yet to build off of, and I'm getting another upgrade there, so I could just outright upgrade one and aim to max it out as much as I can, or go for both. There's 70 cost regardless for corruption. I think I'm going to go with this. It's been working out very well, so any additional damage stacks that I can get would be beneficial. I also personally prefer hitting up to 2 curses before the first boss, because it gives you much more options for what you want to get rid of if you, for example, get something very, very bad, like Shadow Flame. To me, that's kind of negligible. I want to be in the darkness for this challenge run anyways. And so, getting something else to remove that may be more harmful obviously would be nice. This doesn't actually hurt us that badly right now. It really hurt one of my previous runs, but I just don't have any relics right now. So this outright just gives me additional 3 Divine Favors, which I can use to re-roll some of the either weapons or relics that I go to. That was a bad hit. That is my bad. But, you know, you gotta just kind of learn to take those and to learn how to not take those, I guess is how you'd say it. Because learning each area as much as you can and getting better at them is how you start winning games more frequently, how you get a lot more consistent enemies. One of the things that I've definitely enjoyed while streaming is when I do get people to view the stream, I always enjoy just talking with them, being able to communicate. But even more than that, it helps kind of prep me for a lot of other things. It, in a lot of ways, improves my skills in the game because it forces me to multitask. I'm gonna pass that. It does give me more poison, but I don't think it's better than this. And being able to multitask while also kind of explaining your actions, well, it's 2 fronts there. Being able to multitask just helps in general. It gives you more ways to focus on the game while also being able to deal with the other parts of it, but being able to commentate on what you're doing forces you to reflect on what you're doing. And so if I make a bad play, I can recognize that it's a bad play. I can try and figure out why I made that decision. So like looking over my video on demands and all that, I can see what I thought when I did something and use what ended up happening in a future run to kind of just make myself better. I'm gonna offer gold here, just take the benefits. The perception here is gonna help start the buff on my dagger, and the health is just a nice barrier to have. This is a weapon upgrade and then boss. So it's gonna be a arena fight here. I'm gonna just kind of deal with them as best as I can. Even just the different unique weapon animation or attack patterns for each weapon is very, very nice because, like, even if you're just using one thing, dodging or parrying, having access to, for example, claws gives you suddenly another entire view on how you play. Because you get a second effective dodge, your charge attack brings you into combat as well as allows you to avoid enemies at the same time. It's a nice mixture of offense and defense, and also gives you very, very powerful just combo hits. I think I'm going to want to offer blood again. It brings me to a 3rd curse before the first boss, which is going to likely make me not able to take many corruption options in the future, but with the current greed benefits, I think I'll be able to work it off. Deadly Obsession. This curse is an interesting thing. It's a similar situation to the relic that gives you an additional stamina on dodge roll. It's the drop condition of champion weapons. If you're meaning the cursed weapons, I'm not entirely sure. I believe some of them may just outright be doing bosses either perfect or otherwise, because I've had pretty consistent drops for the first temple or the first Jaguar's cursed spear or whatever when I just flawless it, I believe. But it may be how fast you kill them. not too sure what their conditions were. That was just kind of a bad decision there, and it's going to be fairly harmful for the continuation of the run, or sorry, this boss, because it eliminated my 10% damage buff that I was maintaining. This boss has honestly been the biggest struggle for me in the Jaguar, or sorry, the Serpent Temple, because she sometimes just chain hits me and I can't really do much about it, like that specifically. Oh, so there's there's specific conditions for their weapon drops. That's actually kind of an interesting aspect then. Just additional ways to get more powerful things. It's one of those unique aspects to some games that you don't outright catch. But yeah, this boss, just it's a mixture of the fact that I have one less stamina here that's kind of hurting me, but it's also that this boss really punishes bad placement or bad positioning, and that's one of the things that I haven't gotten the best handle on, is better positioning myself for the effects. So I think I'm just going to outright get rid of this. I don't currently have very many relics. Obviously there's a couple on the ground, but I shouldn't be getting maxed out on relics or to the point where I would need one just yet. Pretty solid option, bonus against poisoned, but I don't think I'm going to take it over my current poisoned venomous fangs, because I'm just kind of basing my build around them. 10% in gold offering amount, healed is just a nice thing to have temporarily. This is what I'm looking for, just obviously additional poison damage, additional damage and all. I could trade 125 gold for this, but it gives me a temporary 2 dex. This is very tempting. I really like having just this in the background, because even if you're not focusing on parrying and you're instead focusing on dodging, it gives you the opportunity to just ignore that. But scaling wise, it would be best to keep this ceremonial dagger, because I'm getting bonus damage in darkness, it inflicts poison itself, and I get 3% damage per perception. So it's currently only at 15%, and this obviously scales similarly. It's a bit of a toss-up here, because you can definitely improve this pretty drastically, and the shield mechanics are definitely nice to get a good stun lock, but I think I'm going to have to stick with it. It's hard. It's a very, very tough call with this build, especially just the difference in poisoning things. I think because how much I've committed to a poison build, I'm going to stick with the ceremonial dagger for now, and just take the -12 corruption. That -12 corruption should help me preserve my way through the rest of the segment. Do I need weapons or relics? I think outright relics are just what I need at this point to shape up my build, because my 2 weapons are fairly working out. My claws I don't think I'm going to replace during this run, just because I'm focusing my upgrades on them, and they scale with my perception, and they just heal. Ah, so if you drop and equip the champion weapons, you'll be able to unlock them for the starting thing. That's very good information now. The champion weapons are outright just extremely powerful for the most part, and so being able to have a chance at starting with them, very, very nice. I'm gonna go for this kill. As you can see there, my damage is still enough to pretty quickly put out enemies. I'm going to dodge back there just for overall precaution. This enemy's attack is ranged, so I'm going to want to avoid it outright as much as I can. And manage to finish it off pretty quick. Being able to 2-combo those is a pretty good statement of where I am. The healing's kind of excessive, but it's better to have excessive healing than not, I would say. I'm going to go for that so that I can move on to dealing with the Titan room, or the Titan skulls. I really dislike them for the fact that they just add another element to the room that I don't like. The one thing with both the first boss in the Jaguar Temple and those enemies in general is just taking your time. It's not breakable, it's not. You can just let them decide to throw and dodge it, and you just have free reign on attacking them. You can also use one of your secondary weapons to just stun them to death, but if you're not comfortable with that, there's opportunities to do other options. Being able to effectively instant kill the Titan skulls is very nice for me because I just dislike them. I am going to stun lock this enemy as much as possible. Would have preferred him not getting access to the burn spawns, but same. There we go. Pretty clean clear through of this floor. Altogether not too terrible of problems. Level +1 on two-handed, not making much use of it. Lightning, obviously not. And I think I can pass on that and just go for more. +9 dex is a consideration, but I don't think I would keep it long enough to make it worth it. I'm really aiming for either just poison or +1 on main, and this is what I think I'm going to take. It saves money and it gives me perception, which helps with my scaling. It saves money, as in, I believe that's far cheaper than getting just an outright upgrade on my main weapon at this point through one of the upgrade rooms. So, a very worthwhile relic to take. I saw it mentioned at one point, but one of the big concerns I've seen people have is the difference between elemental and non-elemental weapons. Oh, I see you mentioning that it's only a 20% chance drop rate for fulfilling the conditions for the champion weapons. That's a bit unfortunate, but I mean, having access to a chance at them is still nice. It's just going to be a long time unlocking them. But yeah, as I was mentioning, a lot of people were mentioning the fact that non-elemental weapons just are kind of a demerit in the current state of the game, which I can definitely see that. As you can see, just having the additional poison damage is making me out DPS so many situations a lot better than I would otherwise. I'm going to try and wrap that up as quick as I can. Wrap that up. But there's no real relic support for non-elemental weapons at this point. You have these poison relics to boost my poison damage, which is already doing more damage than a normal weapon would. Obviously there's a bit of a cost change there with dealing slightly less base damage, but overall there's a lot less incentive to take non-elemental weapons. And so one of my hopes at least is there will be some change, especially maybe with blessings, that will incentivize using non-elemental weapons. It would definitely be an interesting change to the game. Yeah, damage with darkness, damage with gold, and damage with crit, which also affects all of the poison weapons already. So it comes to the point of you may as well just be using one of the poison weapons for the extra damage. Because you're at basically a slight disadvantage for not, which to a degree can be fine. It's not always the best state for a game to be in to have that, but in my opinion, this game's state is very solid right now. There may be some degree of meta, some degree of otherwise for what rooms you should take, but it's definitely enjoyable. Yeah, I think I saw, as you said, Lau, someone mentioning a non-elemental damage relic just outright boosting their damage, and yeah. Ooh, you can upvote it. Yeah, I was looking through the Reddit earlier as well. The Reddit for this game, it's still a bit small, but it's growing, and it still has people talking on it. And I enjoy being there. I enjoy seeing people show off their runs. I saw a run highlight from someone doing one of the final tiers for the Jaguar Temple. I believe it's Blood and Serpent, sorry, the Serpent Temple. And they had 49 dexterity by the end of it, with over 1,000 damage as their highest hit. And it's like, that's one of the things that comes with roguelikes that I think keeps me playing them. You're able to just do these incredible runs, which he was using one of the greed builds, along with the one that gives you bonus dexterity for every, every perfectly cleared room. And just being able to show off skill in that way and have benefit for doing well is, I think, one of the important parts of any game, not even just roguelikes. Having some benefit for doing well, rewarding the player for doing well, I should say, makes them want to come back and play more. And I mean, being able to see that cool of a run with someone breaking 1,000 damage, I think my highest was 500 in one hit, but 1,000 damage is just insane to consider, but it's possible with the game. It's always very cool to see. As you can see here, my damage is very, very well keeping up. I'm not doing too insane kills on elites here, but still able to put out a hefty amount of damage in general. Probably, in my opinion, I would have gone for the Titan Skull first in this room, because I really hate that attack there, just adding more things on the screen to hit me. But it ends up being fine, I clear it without any real hassle. I'm not going to give up the two-handed heavy, just because I like being able to break doors, but yeah. Where on the Discord do you or upvote these ideas? Is it in like recommendations otherwise? I have enough goals. And yeah, I do eventually post these streams on YouTube, just personally for me, just to be able to look back on them in the future, in the feedback vote section, or vote thread. I'll put a link in the description of my video to both the subreddit and the Discord, just because it's a good idea to join. It's a good idea to look at the community and see for yourself that it is indeed a very present, very prominent community. And, you know, I mean, even just talking to people is always a good time. I think that's one of the key things that some game communities really get hurt by. Oh, that's unfortunate. Should have dodged a bit better. Oops, sorry. Let me pause that. There's a person in chat that I have to kick and ban. Sorry about this. There's been a couple of people just randomly trying to request for, or trying to spam about like follower sites and prime sub sites, and that's just not cool. So I just report them and then ban them because it's not cool. Advertising site for use /follows. And then I'm going to ban them real quick. Sorry about that. I just like to make sure that the channel is decent. It may not be a big channel, it may not even be that great at times, but I do like making sure, even if there's not many people, that their experience is pretty good with it. Because I mean, if I'm watching a stream, I'm going to want it to be enjoyable as much as I can, and if I'm streaming, my goal with streaming there is to try and show other people what I'm doing, and give them some of my enjoyment, and in a way gain my own enjoyment through talking with more people. But in general, I just believe it's a good idea to keep that sort of stuff away at times. I'm just off of getting the upgrade there without blood. I should have access to a later one if I want to. What are my curses? The curses don't all matter that much. I'm going to be getting a curse either way, so I think I am going to offer blood here. Getting this bonus damage here on this, which I'm basically solely using with the occasional backup of the dagger, is going to be a very nice benefit to have. Gonna go to the weapon room. I enjoy looking over the weapons sometimes, see if I might get a cursed weapon just to have. But yeah. Trap chest doesn't really matter to me, you just have to basically parry a chest instead. But yeah. Though elements may, to some degree, have some problems, they are very fun to play with. I've tried to make work most of the elements. I haven't gotten any runs with fire yet, so that's one of the things I definitely want to explore a bit more. It synergizes well with a lot of things, specifically just having additional damage from light, and you also just get the intrinsic benefit of not being in darkness for the majority of the time. I mean, it's overall a very cool element. Like, obviously poison's cool, having this extra damage that comes in over time, being significantly more than otherwise. It's just a nice effect, and you have a lot of synergies with it through either weapon affixes or relics outright. But I mean, so does fire, so does all these other elements. And it's always good to explore. I should, I see that. Just let me lower the music a bit here. That's one of the things that's been a bit rough with starting to stream, is trying to balance sound. I'm also going to lower this a bit, just to tell me if that's a bit better. Because setting up your mic is very, very different. Speaking of which, here's a cursed weapon. I've not actually run with this, and I mean, darkness build would be kind of interesting at this point. I think I am just going to outright take it because it would just be kind of an interesting thing to run with. It also comes with the double damage and double taken, which is just a fun time. So yeah, I'm going to go with that. But yeah, if you have any... If my voice is still a bit too low with that, I can further lower the sounds. Oh, it's better with the sound? Okay. I'll stick with it for now then. I have not made use of the Cursed Whip. It seems to still share the main synergy, or the main whip combos. Ooh, offhand combo. Oh yeah, offhand combo is real nice. This is going to present the fact that now I will take double damage with my any hits that I take while using my main weapon, basically. Kind of forgot about the second attack a bit there. One of the benefits with this challenge run is I do get the effect there you see, where my back dodge and my dodges themselves have the dark teleport effect. It just basically increases my iframes. Got very lucky there. I should have probably attempted to parry rather than otherwise. Trying to mix in that side hit, or that offhand combo that I keep slightly mistiming it. Ooh yeah, that's a very solid damage. Got hit on the back off there. It's unfortunate, but overall this boss fight should be done very soon. There we go. Took a bit more damage than I would have liked, especially just getting hit in the back by a couple of those combos, but still fairly decent. I am going to get rid of this one so I can have my additional relic slot back, but yeah. No parry, yeah. That's one of the things I definitely need to get, is I very much crutch on just dodging. Dodging is one of those things that it's very easy to just do immediately and ignore otherwise. I'm not gonna... I'll take the basic healing there, and I'll take this for now. Pass on that. Gold offerings removing corruption would be okay. But I don't... Actually, that is a pretty drastic damage boost for now. Yeah, that's one of the very important things to do, as you're mentioning, is replacing perfect dodges with parries, because parries in this game are one of the most powerful just systems outright, because you stun the enemy, you prevent the damage. You don't always stun the enemy, I should say. You prevent the damage outright, and you'll almost always stun the enemy temporarily, apply a debuff of some kind. A lot of the times you'll just get a weaken or something, but it's very powerful. I think I'm going to go this route. It gives me unknown. This was a tempting one, just because it basically gives me double relics, but this also gives me a time trial beforehand to give me enough gold to actually buy things. But yeah, with that boss especially, as you saw, a bunch of this attacks would just continuously combo. And if you are cognizant enough to be able to parry those, then you're able to just get basically free damage phases. And it's why I really struggled with Tamak for a bit, mostly because I kind of sucked at reaching him for a while when I was learning this game, but if you don't parry him, in a lot of cases it's just kind of a hard time. Oh, no problem, man. Doing English in any amount as a second language or otherwise is just a very nice skill. The best I can do with second languages is the 4 or 5 years I've learned Spanish and the 2 years I've learned Japanese, and those 2 years were when I was much, much younger. When I had lived in Japan. My dad was military, so I had the opportunity as a kid to live there. I'm always glad to see people who are willing to put in their time, put in their other effort to learn a language, and to even use it in any way. Like Spanish I get some use out of in one of the part-time jobs I had while in university. There was a situation where we needed someone who could speak Spanish, and I was the one they called. They knew I had learned a decent bit, and I mean, I wasn't perfect for the situation, and I struggled a bit, but it definitely helped the situation to just have someone there who spoke Spanish and who could help someone on their way. And that was one of the things with this community, this game and community itself. It has a large French player base, it seems. The Discord even has a very big section for French players, and I believe some of the lead design team is French, and I'm always interested in seeing other cultures mixed in and just other ideas at play, because obviously there won't be too huge impact by culture in some ways, but the art style for this game is very, very beautiful in my mind. I wouldn't change it if I had the option to, just outright, because it's very, to me it's very unique for a top-down sort of roguelike, and it's very enjoyable. I don't get tired of it, I should say, and I've played a lot of games, some high graphic quality games, some otherwise, and thus far this has been one of the more enjoyable ones. To just be able to keep playing. I kind of just bullied that enemy by kind of pushing it back for a while. It was stopping all my damage, but it kind of got to deal with the bush. The bush was the end of it. But yeah, you see I'm up to 27 perception. I'm not getting as big of a benefit, but that is a pretty solid amount of extra damage for my claws. Blinding Greed is pretty fine, in my mind. It gives you more gold on the ground, and is especially nice for challenge rooms, which we're coming up to one right now, after this. It's just also one of those other things, like, if you're worrying about a game, it's one of those things you would rather not worry about. Like, if your main purpose in coming to a floor was to get gold, and now all of a sudden that gold can just disappear, would you really want to deal with that? In a lot of cases it's just easier to not deal with it, but in the levels of the curses, I definitely prefer it over something like Temple's Bite and Jaguar Temple and so forth. Whichever one makes the spikes in that rhythmic pattern, because I really suck at dodging the spikes. All of the curses are meant to have some harm and some benefit, and they'll either have some harm and a benefit, or minimal harm and minimal benefit. And I can understand where the Temple's Bite one with the rhythmic pattern can come in as I just didn't dodge that. I can see where that comes in as some form of benefit, in that you're very easily able to see traps because they're constantly going, you're able to be aware of them better. But when you actually are forced to go over the traps, all of a sudden you're put in this situation where the traps aren't acting how you would have wanted them to. This would be interesting, to a degree, but not for this build. I could roll through that, but what do I want to replace? Maybe this, and I don't really need that, so I think I'm going to pass. I'm going to go after the challenge here. Yeah. one of the things of interest for me is I usually stream pretty much late night for what I do. And so that has me being, I think it's 1:30 right now. Yeah, it's 1:30 in the morning for me. I mean, I'm fine with it. It definitely changes the viewership that I get though, so it's always interesting people to see. And I'm obviously not getting... It changes the audience that I'll have available to me, because there's not all that many people watching nighttime in general, but I get exposed to different people, I get to see all kinds of different faces, and I'm always glad. And I mean, for me, I have some decent noise cancelling in the room where I have my setup, so I don't disturb anyone. And if I'm up anyways, I may as well enjoy talking with people, enjoy playing a game, and so forth. I'm gonna try and just DPS this enemy outright. I really shouldn't have done what I did there. I kind of forgot that I didn't have the dagger anymore, so I just kind of went with it and just tried to mix into that combo, and yeah, it ended up pretty badly. Taking a couple bad hits there. I'm gonna take a second to just try and focus up, because that's one of the things here in this game, which I guess to some is a gateway, is that this game is very punishing for bad moves. And so learning how to move better, learning how to do things better is going to be one of the key parts of learning this game. Gonna try and eliminate the Prophetess here before it can buff them, because that buff is a rather big nuisance. It kind of disrupts the normal flow that you understand them to have for their attack patterns. But yeah, having pretty decent noise cancelling in a room makes it fairly viable for me to just do this how I am. More damage would be fun, but also +7. Never had that before, so kind of want to go up there. And I do get the benefit of the minus curse from this, or corruption from this, which is just nice to have. Yeah, I've never gotten a level 7 weapon before. A majority of the time I had played before the more recent updates where there wasn't level up rooms, and so now having access to them, it's very fun to just mess around with them and go so far with them. And my damage is pretty incredible. That is to say the least. This, that I should have dodged, or I should say I should have attempted to parry an enemy rather than doing what I ended up doing, which caused me to just kind of panic and roll into a corner. But yeah, learning the mechanics of the enemies is always going to be an aspect of a lot of games, basically any game. And it's especially prominent with this one, learning both the elite and normal patterns for enemies, because it adds in that extra layer of just power for you to use. Like knowing the fact that they won't attack you otherwise while they're doing that animation where they just stand there, but they will if you do attack them. You're just able to ignore them for a while and can deal with any other threat in the area. The damage that I'm putting out right now makes me very hopeful for the coming boss. Forgot about the parry thing. Do I just... I'm kind of here anyway. I'm gonna take an attempt at parrying. No one saw that. No one saw that. Yeah, jeez. Yeah, I was just pushing it slightly late, and now I'm very, very disappointed in myself for doing that. I could give myself more health back, remove corruption. We're gonna act like those 2 hits there just like didn't happen. I'm kind of like still in shock that I kind of messed up that badly. Bonus critical damage here is just nice. Do I want it over health? I mean, I'll just take it over. Yeah. Oh wow, getting to a +11 weapon previous patch. That is very cool. for a while there, just way at the beginning of the game, you couldn't really get too high in levels with weapons, but now having access to that, it once again added higher levels to what you can do with your runs. And I think that's always going to be a fun thing, is where can you go with what you have built. And with this game, there seems to be a lot of room to just add more and more to make the game that more interesting, that more fun. I've seen a couple of their posts on them working on the Eagle Temple, which I'm definitely looking forward to. I'm gonna get a curse either way, so I may as well just offer blood here. That's one of the interesting things I've learned with this game, is you're going to either get a mix of getting a bit complacent with how strong your build is at times, versus not having a strong enough build to deal with stuff, and it's either learning that middle ground of where you just stay focused, stay calm, and learn how to deal with things and react to them, versus otherwise, which is trying to make sure your builds don't get to a state where you're not in a good enough situation. Oh wow, that's a very powerful sword there. Lau just sent a picture of their sword in chat from previous patch. Plus 11 is just kind of insane for that level of a weapon. I mean, this isn't anywhere close to that. It's only at plus 7, and there's different axes, but I look forward to getting to the point where I can build up to that level of weapon. Oh boy. I got kind of distracted there with how much damage I dealt, but also I need to consider the fact that all enemies are now going to spawn a little vermin when they die. It's not that bad of a thing to deal with, just another little enemy to kill. And it can actually in some cases helps just by dealing some AoE to enemies, but it's another thing you have to remember. Gonna go after the prophetess here first. Or no, that's just a serpent. Oh, there's a prophetess though. Unfortunate. Just kind of pretty smoothly dealt. I forgot about you. I looked down to read chat after I killed the enemy and looked up just in time for it to, or for me to notice the vermin coming out. Oh, are you on Final Curse on that run as well, Lau? That's bold moves. Much bolder than I would ever be. I don't know if Final Curse has changed since way back the last time I got it, which was way back in the first update, but it was just continuous damage, and it's one of those things, you can definitely deal with it, but you can't deal with it very long. That right there is just one of the uses of the vermins. You can just set them up as a bit of a trap, a little bit of damage to deal to enemies. So it does come with that risk where you accidentally dodge forward into them rather than out of them. Did manage to luck out and get what I wanted through coming through these extra side area, which is more health. That is one of the things that I have to get a bit better at dealing with, is the vermin's range. I have not dealt with very effectively, just their spit's range, to be specific. I usually get caught just on the tail end of it when I think I'm out of it. That changes things pretty drastically. Yeah. gonna give up blood for that. Well, 90 blood. Oh, that would bring me to 5th curse. I really want to give up blood for that. I'm just out of range of affording it, which is really unfortunate. I don't think it's worth it to go to 5th, go to the 5th curse with that, because I'll take that 90 and it'll bring me just before, and then I have to enter the room, so I think I'm gonna roll over it. Oh, and then another one. Getting all of these very, very powerful relics here, but I'm gonna have to pass over them because I just barely can't afford them. I've gotten 3 cursed relics and I can't take any of them. I have 5 more divine favors here, and it would probably be a decent consideration for this one because that would basically heal me up nearly all of my remaining HP, as well as give me a 20% damage increase by just having it, because I would, 18%, no, 16, sorry, because it would be replacing this. I guess it's a bit of a consideration to make. Yeah, being too poor here is just making me very sad. I think it would be smart to settle for this, but I'm gonna look for better. That is kind of what I was looking for. A massive amount of healing, because of how much I deal. That's 20 or so health per basically crit I get with this, and then 9 constitution makes it even better. That's just outright HP, so I think I'm gonna offer gold for that and move on with it. I would have liked to... What I was generally aiming for was just outright more damage, but sans that, this is more healing than I would have gotten by the previous, as well as just a bit of consistent healing. So yeah, here's the final boss. I'm just going to look over the build one last time. A torch, 2+1, solid. These very, very powerful venomous claws. This whip, just kind of the extra thing, adding in some more flavor with that double damage. This is to break doors, some poison build, some crit build, and then just more bonuses on my weapon. None of the curses are really going to cause much of an effect here. And so yeah, going to be a pretty straightforward boss fight, and I just have to deal with basically the boss. The first time I saw this boss, I was really worried that it was a giant serpent, because I was just outside of view of it, and I could only see the massive serpent. But yeah. Just spawn on top of these enemies. As you can see, I can deal with them actually pretty well. A bit better than I thought on top of it. My damage is just chunking them down. I should be going for some parries here. That would just be pretty smart too. But also my damage is kind of absurd. I'll make sure I have enough stamina to try and deal with as many of these as I can right off the bat, and then just move forward. That was the attack pattern that I wasn't really looking forward to there. I'm just gonna base make the damage here. I'm getting lazy. And yeah, that's about how much effort I was putting at the end there. When I got hit by those couple extra attacks, it was unfortunate. That's gonna hurt my end score here by a little bit, but that was a pretty smooth run overall, besides just kind of giving up on dealing with the boss at the end. Yeah, it definitely got me what I wanted, which was a whole lot of crystal skulls. 359 highest damage dealt is fairly solid for a build that was focused around claws, which are basically the lowest damage weapon type. I think ranged weapons may actually have them outclassed at this point, but yeah. Plus 50, very solid. Only at 188 for now, which puts me just out of this Grace of the Eagle. But yeah. I am going to look over the weapons real quick, just out of curiosity. This would be a very fun thing to run, having both benefits there. In general, okay crit focus, and just kind of basic stuff. I do think that's unfortunately going to have to be my last run for the night. I have a midterm and basically 10 in the morning my time, and I do want to get some sleep and have time to do homework. But yeah, thank you very much for being here, Lau. Thank you very much for the other viewers in the chat. I'll definitely check you out. I hope you have a great rest of your night, great rest of your day if that's what it is for you. And yeah, best wishes to you all. And there we go. Good night, everyone.